Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest edition of the EMBN Ask Tech Show with me, your newest bike nerd, Adam Walder, and the one, the only, Stephen Jones, who I managed to recover from a pub in Garda a few weeks back. So,
that's not true.
I think it was. I've probably got photo evidence somewhere, 2 in the morning.
Yeah. But lots of tech in Garda. Lots of fantastic tech in Garda.
Lots of cool stuff.
Lots of questionable stuff too.
Yeah.
Motor Perla.
It's a looker.
Not everyone's cup of tea, is it?
No.
Anyway, some great questions, Adam, this month, the month of June, from you guys.
Yeah, so let's
get things kicked off.
Let's do it.
Let's kick things off. This is actually a question in from Motorez and Ruedes, who asks, I wonder what would happen if I use a non-e-bike fork, like Cane Creek fork on my e-bike or other brands that are not e-bike specific. It's a big question.
It is, and it's one that I've heard a fair bit, but to be honest, you can. It's not going to fold in half. It's not going to destroy anything in any way that you wouldn't expect a normal fork to work.
Should we qualify this to begin in that it actually all depends on the bike you're riding, because the needs of a hardtail to a 120 to a 150 to a downhill bike are all different, right?
That's very true, but if you're buying a 120 bike, you're having a 120 fork, which is suited to the bike at hand, right?
Does it need to be e-bike specific is the question, right?
Not necessarily. E-bike specific adds a few different things. So a lot of the time it's down to your stanchion thickness or certain hardware components which help it being harder wearing, and that's for e-bike optimized. And then you've got e-bike tuned. So there's two things that fit within an e-bike specific fork.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the tune thing, because I spoke to Yannick Pontal, the reigning e-enduro world champion, and he goes for like softer compression settings on his fork, which I think a lot of the world level riders do go for as well.
Tends to be softer compression, faster rebound.
Yeah.
It's a bit more of a horse to tame, but if you can, then it's going to aid your traction in some respects. However, what's quite interesting about the e-tuned forks is it tends to be that the tuning is softer on the top and it ramps up further into compression. Just because you don't need as much activation force, it's going to be, you want it to be compliant, you want it to be comfortable.
Activation force!
I love a bit of tech. I love a bit of tech. So again, it's not 100% necessary, but you will see benefits from having an e-bike specific fork on your e-bike and secretly on your analog bike. You will.
I mean, when it comes to the chassis, Adam, some of the chassis structures are a bit thicker. The arches are a bit chunkier on some e-bike specific forks. Do you know what? I actually had an interesting conversation with Elmar Keineke at Fox, actually, at Garda Show. I think he summarised it up quite well in his definition of the two forks. This is what he had to say. Elmar Keineke. Keineke.
Yeah, you know how to pronounce it.
Elmar, so we're at Fox, by the way. Elmar, we get lots of questions about what is actually the difference between an e-bike specific fork and a standard fork. Can you give me the quick answer on that, please?
Yeah, there's a quick long answer to it. So actually we got two different configurations that we're looking at here. So for the 38, for example, we've been trying to focus on the setup of the compression damping, because there is a slight difference between the average user of an e-bike and someone who is trying to attempt the Enduro World Cup, right? So with that being said, our forks, the factory series, particularly with the Grip 2 damper, are set up out of the box to be performing at World Cup levels. But the e-bike user is probably looking for a bit more compliance on the compression damping. So on the 38, that has been adjusted because the chassis is already stiff enough for e-bike use. On the 36, though, we actually worked with a similar adjusted damping configuration for more increased comfort, but the stiffness of the chassis of the regular fork for 36 for regular bikes is a little bit softer, so we increased wall thickness on some of the tubings here.
So there you go. That was a short, long answer. Elmar, thanks so much for your insight.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so some interesting insight there from Elmar Keineke. What about weight, Adam? Any weight differences, e-bike specific?
I thought you were talking about me for a second. I was like, yeah, I've gotten heavier. But
activation force.
Activation force. Weight isn't always a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, as you'd expect, if you're having thicker stanchions, burlier sort of chassis, it's going to end up adding a little bit more weight. I mean, I use Fox as the clear example of here. A Fox 36 factory without the e-bike specific setup, the e-optimized setup versus the e-optimized setup is about 230 grams.
It's nothing, is it?
It's not, I mean, when you're talking kilos on bike to bike.
It's the amount of mud on your tyre.
Yeah, or the amount of weight around your waist.
So what else we got? What else we got? What are the questions we got this week?
So, we have got something that's probably a little bit more up your alley. I do know you like a commuting rig there, Steve.
Is this some kind of wind-up?
A little bit. I mean, you take it as you please. But
okay, right.
You're a fan of a cargo bike, no?
A cargo bike, yes. Come on, what's the question?
All right, so this isn't a cargo bike. This is for all those hard-time heroes
Here we go.
Big Mark has
Body language.
Big Mark has asked the question, hey, I'm thinking about ditching my car and riding 8 miles to work. I haven't rode a bike in 15 years and I've never ridden an e-bike before, but I think it's for me. The bike I'm thinking of buying is a Trek Powerfly 4.
Great bike.
Can you do a video on the commutability and how hard this bike can be pushed on weekends for fun?
Yeah, Chris has actually done videos on commuting in the past. Right, this is where I'm at.
Is this you shirking it off, going, oh, it's Chris, not me, this isn't my question?
No. Look, I think that a mountain bike is a far better tool for commuting on than an e-mountain bike.
Ooh, you're going to rub some feathers up there.
No, if it's flat.
Okay.
It depends. This whole thing depends on where you live. If you live in flat terrain, you're going to get up to 25 kilometers an hour very quickly. So in that regard, you're probably better off with a mountain bike, or indeed like a touring bike or something like that.
But how much weight are you carrying? Are you where are you working? Are you working in an office? You got a small bag, maybe a laptop?
Yeah.
Or
nevertheless, I think you'll get above that 25k if you live on the flat. There's so many variables. If you live in a windy country, I mean, if you've got a head-on wind, you're better off with an e-bike. If you're carrying lots of luggage, you're better off with an e-bike. But
Big Mark, where are you based? That's what we need to know.
However, most people, or lots of people, live in slightly wallowy ground.
Yeah.
Not wallowy, I don't mean that. I mean slightly
undulating
ground.
Good word for that.
Big Mark, I'd say yes. I'd say go for it. On many counts. I think the first one is you made a great choice there. Excellent choice in the Powerfly 4. It's a hardtail bike. It's got an 80mm fork. It's got a 625 watt-hour battery in there. It's got the Bosch performance motor in there, I do believe.
Bosch Performance CX
motor in there.
Yeah.
Big Mark, if you are Big Mark, 203mm rotors, which is great to anchor you up. Say if you've got, ongoing traffic in front of you and stuff like that. Great range, you've got mixed wheel size, great geometry. I mean, if you are Big Mark, then obviously the size of the bike, you need an option for small up to an extra large, which Trek provide
with different wheel sizes.
Great service backup from Bosch
and Trek.
To answer your question about weekend action, I think a hardtail is great for such things as smooth sheep tracks, forest tracks. It's definitely a tool which will get you out there into parts of the countryside which you might not have been to before. So I think as a mixed usage bike, I think you're bang on the money, and I'd highly recommend it, especially if you live in slightly hilly terrain. Next up, this is a question for you, Adam, about a product that I absolutely love, which is the Bosch Performance Line CX Limited Edition motor. Can you just buy, this is from James Taylor, can you just buy a newer motor to upgrade? I'd like to buy a CX race motor to upgrade my rail.
This is a great question.
It's a limited edition motor, isn't it?
Okay, so all limited edition aside, can you buy a motor to upgrade on your current frame? Currently, no, not particularly. And as far as I'm aware, there aren't any brands offering aftermarket motors bar bolt-on kits. If you have a bolt-on kit, yeah, the world is your oyster to some degree. However, with the current bolt-on sort of mid-drive motors that are spec'd on a bike, unfortunately, you don't really have a huge option to change it. That's within your own brand, so within the Bosch range, you can't change it. But the motor mounts are the same. So in theory, if you were able to get your hands on one, it would physically fit across.
You could buy a new bike and then transfer the motor across, couldn't you?
In theory, however, this is where it gets even more technical. A lot of these motors tend to be tuned and customized to the bike that they're fit on. So from a manufacturing point of view, they get attached and the angle of the motor is set, the gear ratios, things like that are taken into consideration when they tune these motors. So
what about, let me just chuck this one in here. What about if James Taylor took his existing Bosch Performance CX motor, rode it into a pond and said, my motor's broke, can I buy a new motor please? Could you do that?
I'd love to say yes, but I really doubt it. I mean, like you said at the beginning, we're going back full circle. Limited edition.
James, I'm not suggesting you should drive into a pond, by the way, and I'm not even suggesting that your existing Bosch CX motor might break. It might just keep going.
I've seen them take some pretty bad weather, so it'd be good luck to you. But I wouldn't recommend it, just in case Bosch turn around and go, you've ridden it into a pond.
I think the other question, Adam, and to James, is do you actually need the Performance CX Race Limited Edition motor? Because it's a very specific tool for a very specific job. It's for people who are in a hurry. It's for people who ride super technical terrain on extended climbing. It's going to give you that little bit extra overrun to kick you up the steppy ground. And I think what it's really important to understand is from A to B on mellower ground, the Performance CX motor is actually faster. I've measured it at about 4 seconds faster over 100 meters. It's just that when things go from that to that and steppier, that is where the CX Race Limited Edition motor kicks in.
It depends, yeah, exactly. You have to understand the application. And again, it's probably worth getting down to a demo day and trying one. Because
do you need it, James? Do you need it?
It could be very much a case of love it or hate it.
But to answer the bottom line, answer the question, I think sadly it's a no, isn't it?
It's a shame. But what this leads on to, and this is a good question for you, Steve, is will we likely see purchasable aftermarket motors available to be able to upgrade your motor in the future?
Oh, thanks for that one.
Big question. That's a question from me. I don't expect you to answer it, but I think it's something that we need to keep on mind.
It's funny because you go to Eurobike and you see the likes of Ollie motors from Italy. You've got Polini. You've got Ananda. There are so many brands. Surely it's only a matter of time before some brand's going to go, right, this has got Shimano mounts. This has got Bosch mounts. This is off the shelf. It's going to cost you $350. Boom.
It might get down to things like your hub standards, XD driver, microsplined. It might come down to that. How you fit your cassette is how you fit your motor.
I think you might be right, and I mean it makes sense, right? But then again, drivetrains. We've got Shimano, we've got SRAM and
Microshift.
No,
TRP.
I'm talking. Yeah, I mean you've got 2 or 3 brands, right, who are offering drivetrains. I don't think there'll be that many motor brands in 10 years' time. But that's my thoughts anyway. Next question. Next question is for you, actually, isn't it?
I'd like to ask if anyone knows how, if possible, it is to extend the warranty on a brand's e-bike components. In my case, I have a Pinnacle e-bike with a Shimano motor and a battery that is 1.5 years old and not many miles on it, as the motor's been replaced for a new one due to an unresolved issue with the E014 error on it.
Whoa, crikey, this is a proper techie show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, crikey, most brands have got crash replacement, don't they?
Yeah.
Some brands have got lifetime warranties on their frames. When it comes down to motors, are we talking motors here?
Yeah.
E-bike components, oh, crikey. I don't think you are able to extend your warranty. I mean, come on, this is a question for you, not for me.
Oh, throw it on me then. I'd like to say yes, and from my background, it's generally the case that it's not an easy thing to do. Most brands won't offer an extended warranty, but people understand the longevity and the lifespan of a motor and the things that might happen that are outside the realms of what we understand in the bike world typically, right? You're getting error codes. You've never generally had to plug your mountain bike into the computer before, so unfortunately, no. The extension isn't a thing, but most brands will have your back in one way or another.
I think they will, yeah.
As you go over that extended, as you go over that warranty period.
I think they'll definitely give you options, won't they?
Yeah, and I think it's the case that if they have suitable stock, then in theory, you can get one at a discounted rate.
So, Adam, I think this is a massive subject. It covers, you could potentially cover all the different motors, but this is specific to Shimano, and I think unfortunately the answer is no, you can't. But the great news is we're seeing so many more service centres and like independent fixers around the world, which actually don't cost that much money. Now, I don't want to name a brand, but there's one example here in the UK, and this guy, he actually takes certain motors from a certain brand, and he puts different bearings and a different belt in them, and he gives them a 4-year warranty.
That's very interesting.
So I can see that happening with more motors in the future. So to get a motor which is say 4 years old, you get a refurb on it, you get a 4-year warranty on that. That's pretty cool, right?
That's insane. I'd never heard of that.
So that's.
But I think this is
unofficial at the moment.
But this is what we're seeing now. We're seeing ways to increase your bike's life in one way or another. Just as you might see, get your phone repaired, maybe not by the brand that you bought it from.
Yeah.
You can see another person.
Absolutely. Adam, that was. I didn't expect so much motor tech in there.
This is what we're about, though. We are EMBN, right?
Folks, if you've got any questions, if you hashtag them, hashtag #EMBN-Tech, and get them down in the comments, we'll make sure to attack them, comment on them, engage in them in the weeks ahead. We're going to have the Ask EMBN-Tech show every month, beginning of every month from now on, now that we've got the legend, Adam Wilder, here. I hope he comes back next month, that's for sure, because I can't answer some of these questions.
These questions were scary.
Adam has got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to stuff like this. So, guys, please get involved. And as I said, hashtag Ask EMBN Tech. And we'll see you in July.
Look forward to it.